So Bion has developed a technology that is a unique and patented technology that essentially eliminates the environmental impacts of large-scale livestock production. I'm not talking about small farms. I'm talking about very large cattle feedlots, dairy farms, swine operations, big poultry operations. All very large scale. We're not all small farm solution. We've all seen forward-looking statements. You guys can read these at your leisure. Our technology was essentially developed to clean up a waste problem. But what's happened is, through the resource recovery that takes place during that cleanup process, we really developed a technology that is it's now an environmental and an economic solution and really improves the economics of livestock waste operation. The livestock industry is truly indeed shit. We're going to get that word out of the way. It is the greatest water quality problem we have in the United States today. It's unregulated. Absent voluntary cleanup, it's going to get regulated. There's no question that that's coming. Advocacy groups, competitors are attacking the industry. Consumers are listening to this whole anti-meat messaging thing. And investors now are seeing increasing risks, not only from the brownfield, the environmental issues, but also the ESG issues that go along with it. Whether you're a fan of ESG or not is really irrelevant. We have verified solutions that really make some meaningful impacts on your ESG footprint. It is the $66 billion beef industry is especially vulnerable. It's got a lot of problems with it. We'll talk about later. It's really ripe not only for consolidation, but for cleanup, integration, and better products to pull it kind of out of its commodity rut, if you will. But our technology really creates a transformational opportunity here. The industry is going to get cleaned up, whether it wants to or not. There's no question about it. It's a question of whether it does it voluntarily and increases its margins or if it becomes a regulatory cost. So, it's just a little background on the industry. You got about 2.2 billion chickens and turkeys in this country, about 90 million beef cattle, 60 million swine, 9 million dairy cows. Farm gate, which is the wholesale pricing, is basically $175 billion in this industry. Now, when that gets to retail and food service, you can triple that number. Very large industry, essentially ripe for disruption. You guys have all seen Beyond Meat. There's a little example of some disruption in the industry. And the thing to remember is about 80% of the animals in the United States are raised on these large-scale livestock facilities. Everybody likes to advertise they're very pretty, happy cows in California and all that happy horse shit that goes with it. Well, 80 to 85% actually are raised on these large-scale feedlots. The problem is you got about 1 billion tons of raw waste, cow shit, chicken shit, take your pick. It's about 100 times the problem that we have from human waste that we spend $100 billion a year on, by the way. But with livestock waste, we spread it on the ground, untreated for its fertilizer value. And that would be like you guys straight piping your toilet to your backyard to fertilize your grass. And if everybody did that, you might imagine we'd have some problems downstream, and we do. And what we do have are these algae blooms. We refer to it as HABs, harmful algae blooms. Some of them are positive, most of them are not. But these algae blooms are fueled by all this nitrogen and phosphorus runoff that goes into our waterways. Some of it is groundwater contamination. Some of it makes it all the way to the Gulf of Mexico. These are some pictures from down in Florida, by the way, from a couple of years ago. But this happens every year. On the left, this is Lake Erie. They had a toxic harmful algae bloom that basically shut down the water supply in Toledo for a number of days. And this happens every year in the Gulf of Mexico. It averages about 5,500 to 6,000 square miles. And essentially, it's just an algae zone. The light can penetrate to the bottom. And then what happens is when that algae runs out of fuel, which is the nitrogen that's running off, it dies. And when it dies, it sucks the oxygen out of the water in the decomposition process and creates what's called a dead zone. And that dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico, like I said, averages about 6,000 square miles. It's getting bigger every year. And it's one of the biggest water quality problems, like I said, that we have in the United States today. And it is a worldwide problem. So besides the algae blooms, again, increasingly toxic, the dead zones that occur afterwards, we now have contaminated groundwater. environments. Nitrate is leaking down into our water supplies, our drinking water supplies. You got excess soil levels, or excess phosphorus levels in our soils, pathogens, antibiotic resistance. On the air quality side, you've got climate impacts from methane and nitrous oxide that are a substantial greenhouse gas contributor. You've got ammonia emissions. The livestock industry is considered the largest emitter of ammonia in the United States today, which leads to what's called PM2.5, which is a small particulate air emission that causes some serious respiratory health issues. It basically kills people. Then you've got odors. We've got $1 billion lawsuits flying around North Carolina right now. So it's a problem. Our technology essentially eliminates every one of those problems. Think of a municipal wastewater treatment plant, but at a large-scale livestock farm. And understand, if I've got a livestock farm with 10,000 cows in it, that's the equivalent of about 330,000 people's waste stream. These animals produce a tremendous amount of waste. So our technology, it's in its third generation. It works. We know it works. It's patented. It's comprehensive treatment, dramatically reduces the pollution, and it recovers resources. The renewable energy, the nutrients that are now being either underutilized or basically wasted downstream, and it recycles water. More than 50% of the water that goes through that system is reclaimed. So all of our processes are third-party verified. That becomes the basis for renewable energy, nutrient, water quality trading credits. It's the basis for a sustainable and an organic brand. And it also, again, gives you that ESG happy feeling of, you know, we are basically cleaning up one of the dirtiest parts of the food supply chain, which is animal protein production. So our technology platform, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this. Essentially, we're going to collect the waste from the barn on a continuous basis. These animals are living in barns, they're not outdoors in the barn. They're not exposed to the elements. They're not in cramped conditions. They're in clean conditions. And we're going to condition that manure. We're going to throw it into an anaerobic digester where we're going to suck that renewable energy out of it. Then we're going to run it into our black box, which is this section right here. And this is what all our patents are about. Because what we're going to do is we're going to take the ammonia that's in that livestock waste stream that causes all these environmental problems, and we are going to capture it, stabilize it, and then package it. Because right now we're wasting a tremendous amount of assets that are also causing the pollution downstream. So we're going to create a number of new revenue streams off this livestock facility. We're going to create pipeline quality gas. We're going to produce this ammonia nitrogen fertilizer. We're going to create water, and we're going to create a solid product that has all of the other nutrients in it. And this is basically what it looks like from a revenue standpoint. These are all new revenue streams that are going to come off that livestock facility. You've got, again, the biogas production, which is pipeline quality renewable natural gas. It can be used as a transportation fuel. Tremendous renewable energy credits with that. The ammonia nitrogen fertilizer, frankly, there is nothing else like it that's being produced today. It is an organic, pure nitrogen fertilizer. And think of urea or anhydrous ammonia, but an organic version of it, and in a powder crystallized form. We're going to have value from the solids that basically have a carbon-based nitrogen in it. It has the phosphorus, potassium, and the other micronutrients. All of the verification of that removal process or that cleanup process then leads to a sustainable brand and these renewable energy credits and also these water quality trading credits. Now I'm going to tell you right now, water quality trading credits, that is a new theory. It's a new concept. A lot of it is still in development in many states. Some states have water quality trading programs, some don't. You'll see it in all 50 states here very shortly because it's really the only way to solve the problem. But again, we're going to create 4 or 5 new revenue streams from the waste stream. And that dramatically changes the numbers and really gives us a number of different business opportunities. The most important one that we're focused on right now is the ability to produce sustainable beef and sustainable pork that is still the grain finish or corn-fed beef and pork that people are used to. This is not a substitute, it's not an alternative, it's not grass-fed, it's not plant-based. This is real corn-fed beef and pork, but clean. And that's because we've cleaned up the dirtiest part of that supply chain, which is that feedlot. We also, we'll talk more in detail about that. We also have a couple of other opportunities. We have some licensing opportunities primarily with the dairy industry as well as internationally. And then we also have the ability to retrofit existing large-scale livestock facilities. And there are thousands of them in this country that have yet to be cleaned up. This is an example of one of the largest ones in the East Coast, which is called Kreider Farms. This company basically has 9 million chickens. 9 million chickens. 2,500 tons per day of chicken shed that is being spread in the Chesapeake Bay watershed, one of the most environmentally sensitive areas in the United States today. We can come in and we can clean that up, and instead of that 30,000 pounds of nitrogen per day and 7,000 pounds of phosphorus polluting the Chesapeake Bay, we're going to recapture it. Not only are we going to clean up the bay, we're going to create a tremendous amount of value from Ron Kreider. So let's look at what those numbers are. Just so you know, Ron does about $100 million a year on his eggs. Makes maybe 2 or 3 million, very low margin business. Let's see what happens when we put about $100 million in technology on that farm, clean that waste up on a regular basis, and recover that value. We're going to drop about $57 million for the pre-tax cash flow from cleaning up the waste. That is a tremendous delta from the business that he's in today. There are literally, and we can go through this at length some other time, we don't really have time for it today, but there are thousands of private farms out there, literally thousands of them, that need to be cleaned up. And again, absent regulation or absent voluntary cleanup, regulation is surely coming for these guys. We need one or two things to make that opportunity sing. Number one is these payment for ecosystem services. That is for the water quality trading that has already started in this country to be completed. EPA is all over it. They are going to be essentially dedicating resources to that at the state level. Many states have already started. Pennsylvania already has legislation. Several other states in the Bay watershed do as well. Or we need an offtake agreement for our organic fertilizer products. We're just proving those products up today. We've got our first organic certification. Should have another one here in the next couple of months. Once those organic certifications are in place and we can sell that nitrogen as an organic product, we can build systems anywhere in the United States. Let's just put it that way. There's enough value. You can see that the value is primarily in that nitrogen fertilizer product. You can see from those numbers about 50 million, about 20 million from biogas, about 20 million from credits, about 50 million from that nitrogen fertilizer product. So we're obviously very keen on getting those approvals done. They're in the process right now. We are really focused, though, on this sustainable beef opportunity. Nobody else in the United States can provide this product today. It's not being provided except at a very small scale, and it's very expensive. So there is clearly a market for a grain-finished beef and pork product that has the sustainability that people are looking for, but also has that quality and that texture, the taste and texture, as well as the pricing that people are looking for. So this is our opportunity. The beef industry is particularly challenged. It's a very low margin commodity industry. It's highly fragmented, the supply chain is. The supply chain is in the wrong place because a lot of these cattle feedlots and a lot of these cattle operations were put in areas where they could get permits, because these things are very dirty operations, and they're in areas where permits were easy to get, and that was supported by plenty of water and cheap fuel to move everything around. Well, we don't have either one anymore. So the industry is severely challenged just because of its location. Problem is, you can't move it. You can't move it in these places because nobody wants it, because they are an environmental disaster. So most of the beef production's impacts originate at that feedlot, and that's what Bion is cleaning up. And it's very clear from consumer behavior, as well as all the studies that are out there, that the consumer is willing to pay a little bit more for a sustainable product. And that's what we're going to fulfill, except we can't do it at scale. Again, everybody else is doing this at very small scale, small boutique farms, very expensive production practices. We can do it at scale because we can clean that feedlot up. So, you know, we've talked, I mentioned Beyond Meat. I know you guys all know Beyond Meat is and Impossible Foods. These are the plant-based substitutes. Those are ground products. They're never going to get more than about 5% of the market. We're interested in that other 95%. Cellular meat's coming. It's a long way off if it's ever economic. You can read all kinds of studies about that. Grass-fed beef as a sustainable alternative. Again, very limited success, only about 5% of the market because it's not consistent, it's generally tough, and it doesn't taste like pork-fed beef. It doesn't taste like what we're used to. So, again, taste and texture is the issue here. Our beef will be grass-fed and grain-finished, and it will be sustainable, and it will be certified by the USDA's Process Verified program, just like organic is, or any of the other labels that you see that are USDA backed. All of the husbandry from basically from the time that cat hits the dirt to the time it hits your dinner plate, all of that is tracked through blockchain so that all of these impacts and virtues that our system brings are verified by third parties and can be communicated to the consumer at point of sale. And we're going to do that with a QR code. We're working with a company called Wise Up Foods that does, and as well as IBM on the blockchain side. And we can deliver everything that happened to that animal all the way to the time it hit the plate. So, to the time it hit the grocery store. So let's look at what that does to the beef economics. This is a traditional beef feedlot here on the left, Bion Sustainable and Bion Organic on the right. You can see there's a little bit more capex involved, but the revenues just blow traditional beef out of the water. And what's important here is not all of these numbers. It's this delta down here of almost a break even on the beef side. On the traditional side, $15 million to the bottom line for sustainable, $27 million on the organic. It is a fundamentally different business model than what we have today. And it's also one that's clean. So again, we could go through this, we could spend an hour on that table right there, happy to talk about it in more detail whenever you want. This is what happens when you stack up 10 of those 15,000 head facilities. Now, I want you to understand that these numbers represent 1% of the U.S. beef production. 150,000 head feedlot facility, that's 1% of the market. And you can see the kind of values that can be built when you've got 10 of these things that are being built, and you've got 3 of them organic, 7 of them sustainable. You're dropping about $207 million to the EBITDA line. These are numbers you just don't see in the livestock industry or in agriculture in general. These are technology return numbers. And the reason is because we are stacking these revenues on top of each other with very little incremental cost above. So again, you can go through these models at length if you want. As far as the catalysts that are coming, our water and nutrient crisis is getting worse every day. There's no question about that. EPA now calls it the greatest water quality problem in the U.S. today. Climate change is just making it worse because it's heating things up, creating more rain, creates more runoff. Absent voluntary change regulation, again, is clearly coming. These climate change impacts are real. I don't think that the livestock industry is the worst problem out there for climate change, but it certainly is getting a lot of attention right now. It's kind of to do with the way climate change goals. Feds are implementing policies, mobilizing financial resources. State policies are changing. We've got these credit trading programs and procurement programs that are being put in place. ESG is going to be a very important part of this in cleaning up the supply chain. Again, everybody's got a different opinion on ESG and its relative importance. But from our perspective, it's a big deal because this is literally the dirtiest part of the food supply chain. And if you clean this up, then you've got an awful lot of companies that are participating in that supply chain that now can clean up that ESG footprint as well. So it's very important. We have found that the folks we're talking to on the private equity side, that is one of their primary focuses right now is those impacts. So our milestones, we've hit a lot of them recently. In May of 2020, we got our first organic certification on that fertilizer product. We're waiting on another one, but we've already gotten what's called a non-synthetic designation. That means our technology does not produce synthetic chemicals. And that's very important on the organic side. That means that all the products that come out of that are also going to get certified as organic also. In October, we had a very important patent that got issued that we waited on for about 3 years. That's really when we started talking about this. In February of 21, we completed our optimization trials. We have made application again for the dry product with the Omri folks, Organic Materials Review Institute. Demonstration beef project has been commenced out of Fair Oaks Farms in Indiana. That is at the largest livestock facility or the largest dairy farm in the United States, which also is all about sustainable livestock production. In March, we got a 4th patent issued, very important patent. And then just 2 days ago, we announced a new CEO. Bill O'Neill is a meat industry veteran that has an incredible resume and has worked with everyone from Walmart to Costco to Wegmans to H-E-B to all the big retailers. You would expect some news coming soon with some of those partners. Our catalyst, again, we're going to expand the management team. We started that already. We'll be identifying some initial distribution partners. We're going to know these names, guys. For a little OTCQB company, our partner list is going to be incredible, and I think you'll start seeing who those are in the next couple of weeks. We'll be working on these organic designations. We'll have most of this put to bed by the end of the summer. Our Fair Oaks Farm demonstration project, it's underway right now. The fabrication is going on. We'll have that up and operational by the end of this year, and all of the data and ready to move forward with the large-scale project by March of next year. Again, we expect to be announcing these joint venture partners, our financing partners. We've been working on this for several years. So you'll see things happen fairly quickly as we ramp up to start building these large-scale projects. And then, you know, as you would expect, there will be some other news and catalysts that come along with that as well. Again, this is a very large, very untapped market. We talked about the numbers in the U.S. These are the numbers globally, you know, 20 billion chickens. I mean, these numbers are just phenomenally large. So it's a huge industry. It has a lot of problems. And anybody that has solutions to this industry is going to be successful to some degree or another. How big is that success going to be? I don't know. You know, we don't know that. But I can tell you a 1% market penetration in just the beef industry alone puts this company at a couple of $1 billion in value. It's just, these markets are just that large. Here's our stock, you know, at a glance. We got about 43 million shares outstanding, about a $50 million market cap. You can see the stock got a little ahead of itself when we first announced that our optimization trials were beginning. Drifted back down. You can see right here's where we announced Bill O'Neill coming on, which is pretty clear we're going to commercialization at this point. We think it's a nice, easy ramp all the way back up. We'll be coming back to the street, looking to raise some additional capital for project finance by the end of the summer. We're not looking for money right now. If you're interested in the company or the opportunities to have taken down the market, sorry, it's going to be traded, but it is what it is. That's my story. Go ahead. You know, it depends. 15,000 head beef cattle facility is going to run about $30 million. I'm sorry? In Alberta, no. We have no third-generation technology installations anywhere. We have 30 or 40 first and second-generation platforms across the country. But this third-generation technology that uses anaerobic digestion, captures the nitrogen, that is our 3G technology. We just filed the patents on it. That's what the demonstration facility that's being built at Fair Oaks Farm in Indiana is all about. That will be the first commercial scale operation. We're talking to them. All we've got to do is demonstrate the technology at scale. And, you know, there is nobody out there that's not interested in what we're doing. We just need to execute. We need to build the platform. We'll have that done by this October, November. We'll start running it at full scale. And then we'll see what kind of relationships we really have. We think they're good. And you're going to see some names, like I said, here over the next month or two that are going to give you a pretty good indication of what direction we're going here and who we're going to be. Again, this is a large-scale solution. This is not a boutique issue. This is something for a Walmart or a Costco or somebody that is looking to distribute nationally at scale a sustainable product. And right now, that's what it's all about. And frankly, we don't see that changing. I'm sorry? No, it's not. We are not a service provider. We are a joint venture partner. And we have those partnerships and those relationships in place. Like I said, you're going to see a lot of this over the next 2 or 3 months. It'll make a little more sense to you. And when you see who those partners are, I think you'll understand. Again, we're not a service provider. We're a joint venture partner. And it's a joint venture business model. The purchasing of a product would be you. But through a Costco or through food service, through restaurants, yeah, I'm not sure what the question is. Maybe. No, we are going to partner with the feedlot owner. It will be a joint venture partner, just like the cow-calf operator will be in the background. We'll all be joint venture partners all the way up through processing and slaughter. Everybody gets to share in the uptick, if you will, in the premium price that's paid for that sustainable product. Clearly not for you. It's okay. I'm sorry? Well, give us another couple of months and we'll announce who the partners are and we'll see if it's a good idea. Any other question? Very similar. Except it has to stay within the watershed. Okay, so it's not like you got an airshed that's much larger where I can do projects in one state, take credit in another. These are specific to the actual watershed. Chesapeake Bay has Wisconsin's doing it right now in the Great Lakes on phosphorus. They're starting on nitrogen. There's a water quality training program in Pennsylvania in the legislature right now. Been in the legislature for 2 or 3 years, but now there's funding. No, I'm not going to sell it to the farmer. We are not a service provider. And I probably should have made that clear. We are a joint venture partner, and we will be working together with the feedlot. But we're going to own the feedlot because it's going to take a $30 million investment in that feedlot from us and our investors and the people from that partnership, if you will. And that $30 million investment is what's going to put the barns in, the anaerobic digester, our technology, and everything else. So we're not going to make that investment with somebody else's project. That's why the joint venture model is the way it is. No, it's going to take a $30 million investment for 15,000 head of capacity. So we're not just going to go sell that to him. First of all, he doesn't have anywhere to go with the fertilizer products. He's a beef producer. It's a very complex supply chain that has to be dealt with. And again, I think when you see the partners that we've assembled for these projects, it'll make more sense to you. And you're going to see that just over the next 2 or 3 weeks. You're going to see who those guys are, and this will all make more sense. Thanks, guys. I think I'm out of time.